The March rain came down in sheets, the kind of cold, relentless Chicago downpour that soaks straight through the bone. Sarah rose and gripped the steering wheel of her minivan tighter, windshield wipers fighting a losing battle. As she turned onto Maple Street, just after 9:17 p.m. on a Thursday night that was supposed to be ordinary, she had landed at O'Hare 2 hours earlier, 2 full days ahead of schedule. The New York deal had closed early, and all she could think about was surprising her boys, slipping in quietly, tucking them in, maybe waking them just enough for sleepy hugs and whispers of Mommy's home. She had even stopped at Manny's Deli for potato lax and brisket, because Noah had been begging for real food, not hotel food, on their last FaceTime. What she found instead stopped her heart dead in her chest. There, on the wide front porch of the house she and Jacob had bought right after the twins were born, the house with the blue front door and the mezuzah Jacob had kissed every single night, sat Noah and Aaron, 5 years old, barefoot, soaked, arms wrapped around each other so tightly their little bodies shook as one. Their kickballs were dark, heavy with rain, plastered to their curls. Their lips were blue. Tears and rain streamed down their cheeks in identical rivers. "Mommy!" The scream tore out of them the second her headlights swept across the porch. They ran, slipped on the wet grass, scrambling up again, tiny fists pounding on her driver's side window before she could even kill the engine. Sarah was out in the storm in seconds, on her knees in the puddle that used to be her front walk, pulling them into her coat, into her skin. They were ice. Babies, oh God, why are you outside? Why are you wet? Who? Noah's teeth chattered so hard he could barely speak. Abba, Ethan said we had to wait out here until the lady left. He said if we came in too soon, something really bad would happen to you. Mommy, he said we'd never see you again. Aaron, always a quieter one, just buried his face in her neck and sobbed. Sarah looked up. Second floor window. Their bedroom, the one with the soft gray curtains she'd sewn while pregnant, humming Nigginum to her belly. The curtains were open 6 inches, and in that gap, lit by the warm glow of the bedside lamp she bought on their honeymoon in Jerusalem, she saw her husband, Ethan Klein, the man who had kissed her scars from childbirth and promised to be the father her boys deserved, moving over a naked woman she didn't know. The sound that left Sarah's throat wasn't human. She scooped both boys up, one under each arm like when they were toddlers, and carried them inside, kicking the door shut behind her, straight to the master bath. Hot water, towels, her own sweater stripped off and wrapped around them both. She rocked them on the tile floor while the tub filled, whispering every brotches she could remember, every promise, every I love you until their shivering slowed. Only when they were finally pink again, wrapped in her robe that dragged on the ground like royal capes, did she kiss their foreheads and say, "Stay right here. Mommy has to talk to Abby Ethan. Lock the door behind me." She found him in the bedroom zipping his jeans, the woman already dressed and heading for the stairs like this was a hotel. "You weren't supposed to be home until Sunday," Ethan said. Not sorry, not ashamed, just irritated, like she'd come home early to a surprise party and ruined it. Sarah's voice came out deadly quiet. My children were locked outside in a storm. They were on a covered porch. Dramatic as always. They're 5. They need to toughen up. You coddle them. Jacob coddled them. Look where that got him. The mention of Jacob's name in this room, in this moment, snapped something inside her. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply said, "Pack a bag. Get out of my house. And if you ever come near my children again, I will end you." He laughed. Actually laughed. "Half this house is mine now, Sarah. Community property. And the boys love me. Good luck getting rid of me." He left at 11:42 p.m., still smirking, promising lawyers, promising he'd see the boys on his weekends. Sarah sat on the kitchen floor with Noah and Aaron until dawn, feeding them warm milk and lax straight from the container, letting them fall asleep against her chest while she stared at the wedding photo still hanging on the fridge. Her in white, Ethan in black, the boys in tiny suits holding the chuppah poles, and wonder how she had missed every single red flag. She hadn't, she realized later. She'd just been too exhausted, too lonely, too desperate for help to listen to them. There had been nights the boys came to her bed saying, "Abba, Ethan got mad when we interrupted his friend." There had been a time Aaron's favorite teddy accidentally went through the washer with bleach. The way Ethan always volunteered to do the school pickup, but the teacher said he was often late. The life insurance paperwork she'd sign without reading because it's just standard habibti for the boy's future. By morning, she was on to Sarah Rosen, who had once made senior partner at 31. Cold, precise, furious. She called Rebecca Goldman, Jacob's sister, former Mossad intelligence analyst turned private investigator, the only person who had ever said out loud, "I don't trust that man's smile." "Becca," Sarah said the second she picked up, "I need you to destroy him. Quietly, completely, and fast." Rebecca was at the house by 8 with coffee and a laptop. What they uncovered over the next 72 hours was a horror movie scripted by a psychopath. Ethan Klein wasn't a widower. He was still legally married to a woman named Rachel Marcus Klein in Nevada, bigamy, felony. He had never been a volunteer at the day school. The glowing references were from email addresses he controlled. His real job? Private home health aid for wealthy elderly Jewish men. 4 of them dead in 5 years. All ruled natural causes or accidents. All wills changed weeks before death to leave everything to my devoted caretaker Ethan. And in every single case, within months of the funeral, the grandchildren or children started having near-fatal accidents. Then came the safe in the study Sarah had never been allowed to open. Inside, life insurance policies on Noah and Aaron, $2 million each. Beneficiary, Ethan Klein, taken out 4 months ago. Clauses for accidental death, dismemberment, drowning. A flash drive with folders labeled by year. Inside each, surveillance photos of the boys at the park, at synagogue, at swimming lessons. Timetables. Notes on which nanny cams were fake. A document titled Stage 2 Pool Incident. Sarah vomited in the kitchen sink. Rebecca's voice was grim. "There's more. He's done this 6 times before. Always the same pattern. Grieving widow or widower in the Jewish community. Always with young kids. Always substantial assets. He and Rachel are a team. She handles the wives. He handles the husbands, or vice versa. They're black widows. Literally." Sarah didn't cry. She made a list. Get the boys out of house. Change every lock, every password, every safe combination. Call the FBI contact Rebecca knew from a previous case. Buy a gun. Learn how to use it. Today, she drove the twins to her father's gated community in Highland Park that same afternoon. Samuel Rosen took one look at his daughter's face and opened his arms. The boys ran to their Saba crying, "We don't have to see Abba Ethan anymore, right?" Samuel's eyes met Sarah's over their heads. "Never again," he said in Yiddish. "Not while I breathe." 3 nights later, at 3:47 a.m., the silent alarm went off. Sarah was already awake. She hadn't really slept since that rainy Thursday, watching security feeds on her phone. 2 figures in black, cutting the back fence. One tall, one shorter, ponytail swinging. Ethan and Rachel. They weren't here for money anymore. They were here to erase loose ends. Sarah kissed the boys, sleeping in the safe room with its steel door and biometric lock, whispered, "I love you more than all the stars," and went downstairs. She met them in the foyer. Ethan smiled the same charming smile that had convinced her he was salvation. "Sarah, let's not make this harder than it has to be. Just give me the boys for a little ride, and we all walk away." Rachel raised a silenced pistol toward the staircase. Sarah raised the .38 she'd bought and trained with every day for 72 hours. "You will never touch my children." Ethan sighed. "You're being irrational. They're half mine now." "They were never yours." Rachel laughed. "You think you're the first mommy bear we've dealt with? They all break eventually." Sarah's voice was ice. "I'm not them." The next 10 seconds happened in slow motion and lightning all at once. Red and blue lights flooded the windows. No sirens, just a dozen FBI agents moving like ghosts. Rachel swung the gun toward the stairs. Sarah fired first. The bullet took Rachel in the shoulder, spinning her. Ethan lunged. Sarah sidestepped. Thank you. Krav mega classes after Jacob died, and brought the gun down on his temple. Agents poured in from every door, shouting, FBI! Drop it. Rachel screamed as they tackled her, blood blooming across her black sweater. Ethan tried to run, and took 3 tasers to the back for his trouble. Sarah stood over them both, gun still raised, until an agent gently took it from her shaking hand. Ma'am, it's over. She didn't lower her arms until she heard the boys' voices behind the safe room door. Mommy? She ran. They met her halfway down the stairs, launching themselves into her arms like they had that night in the rain. She held them so tight she felt their heartbeats sync with hers. Later, much later, after statements and evidence bags and crime scene tape, after the U.S. Attorney personally thanked her for cracking a 6-state serial murder ring, Sarah sat with Noah and Aaron on Sabbath's couch eating sufganiyot, even though it wasn't Hanukkah. Mommy, Noah asked through a jelly mustache, is a bad man gone forever? Yes, baby. Will he ever come back? No. Aaron, finger tracing the bandage on Sarah's arm where Rachel's bullet had grazed her, whispered, You saved us. Sarah kissed his curls. You saved me first. You were so brave waiting on that porch. You told me the truth even when you were scared. That's what saved us. 5 years later. Passat Seder at Sarah's house. Same blue door, new mezuzah, new locks, new life. 27 people around an extended table that takes up the entire dining room and spills into the living room. Noah and Aaron, now 10, are leading the 4 questions in perfect Hebrew, voices strong and unafraid. Sarah watches them from head of the table and feels Jacob's hand on her shoulder even though he's been gone 8 years. Rebecca, now Aunt Becca to the boys, raises a glass. To the women who protect their cubs. Everyone drinks. Later, when the guests are gone and the house is quiet, Sarah tucks the boys in. Noah still sleeps with the stuffed giraffe Jacob bought the day they were born. Aaron still checks on the bed every night, but now it's habit, not fear. Mommy, Aaron says sleepily, when I grow up, I want to be like you. Sarah's heart cracks open in the best way. You already are, Motek. You both are. She kisses them, turns off the light, and pauses in the hallway where new photos line the walls. The 3 of them at the hotel last summer at the Cubs game, at Noah's first Little League home run, at Aaron's piano recital. No empty spaces where Ethan's pictures used to be. Just them. Sometimes people ask how she survived it all. The betrayal, the terror, the night she almost lost everything. Sarah always gives the same answer. I came home early from a business trip because my children needed their mother more than I needed sleep. The rest was just details. And every mother on earth would have done the same. Every March, when the rain comes down hard in Chicago, Sarah opens the front door and stands on the porch where her babies once waited in the cold. She breathes in the wet air, touches a mezuzah, and whispers a Shekinah for having been kept alive, sustained, and brought to this moment. Then she locks the door, sets the alarm, and goes upstairs to check on her sons. They are always warm. They are always safe. They are always, always hers. And if anyone ever tries to change that again, well, they'll learn the same lesson Ethan and Rachel did. You do not come for a Jewish mother's children. Not in this lifetime. Not ever.